Welcome to the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. Are you over 40 and tired of struggling with your weight, dieting, and constantly feeling like you're starting over with nutrition and fitness? Do you wish you had more energy? Do you want to lose weight and finally keep it off for good? I'm Lil, a certified nutrition coach and former registered nurse. I too have been there, and at the age of 44, I decided I was done with fad diets and chasing a lower number on the scale. I was so tired of constantly starting over and wondering why I couldn't get lasting results. I became a nutrition coach and created the Feel Your Best formula for women who want to build muscle, lose fat, and keep it off for good. If you're ready to build a better relationship with food, the scale, and your body, let's build your formula for feeling your best. If you're new here, make sure to check the episode details for the link to my newbie starter guide. You'll receive an email straight to your inbox with everything you need to start building your Feel Your Best formula. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello, welcome back to the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. No, I did not quit the podcast. A series of unfortunate events made it so that we had almost a month here between episodes. So it was the holidays, and then it was just a bunch of craziness, and I ended up getting sick. We just definitely had a break, a holiday break with some crazy ups and downs. First off, super excited. I know I've talked about it here, but going through the whole college application process over the past 9 months or so, and right before Christmas, we found out that my son got into his top choice. He actually only ended up applying to one school because he did early decision, and he got into the school of his choice. He got into the special program that he was trying to get into, and that was just so exciting. We're so proud of him, and now we have a whole other layer of things to get done before he leaves. But I will say it's been really a relief to already know, where he's going next year. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the early decision process. The whole application process is incredibly stressful. Those of you who've done it, but I would say my top advice is visiting schools, visiting campuses, going on the tours, seeing, just what is the energy, what is the vibe, what are the students like here. And, the tour guides are students, and I know my son really appreciated talking to them and asking them questions. And that whole process of visiting schools is really why we ended up where we ended up. So anyway, that has just been really exciting. And that was right before Christmas. And then the night of December 23rd, my son was driving home down a rural New England road. And you guys, he hit a deer. He hit a deer. In my entire life, I've never hit a deer. It is something that, happens quite a bit around here. But I just could not believe it. It happened after Mike and I had already gone to sleep, but I do have my phone set. If you don't know how to do this, figure out how to make it so that your iPhone, if you have an iPhone, there's a setting you can do so that certain people in your contacts list, their phone calls and their text messages will always come through. And of course, I have my son set up that way. And I had probably fallen asleep about 20 minutes before he called. And if you have a teenager, you know that if you see an actual phone call coming in, that something's up. because these teenagers do not pick up the phone, they text. And as I was kind of waking up out of my sleep and seeing, that it was him, my thought was, oh my goodness, like something is not okay. Something is wrong. And thankfully, he is totally fine. He didn't even have, I thought for sure he would have a sore neck or something. Um, but the deer did die, and it was probably a younger deer, one that was probably born in the spring. So thankfully it wasn't anything with antlers or anything. And it was just the craziest timing where the deer was coming up an embankment and jumping over the guardrail, and it literally jumped and landed on the front passenger side of my son's car. And his car is brand new, literally had 2,500 miles on it. So, we're still figuring out what's going on with the car. It looks like they're fixing it. We have a rental and all that. And, even though there's some frustrations with that, at the end of the day, I am just so grateful he's okay. I mean, I worked at Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital, well, Mary Hitchcock Hospital. It's part of Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. That's where I worked when my husband was in grad school, and definitely a lot of deer emergencies that happen in that neck of the woods. And I know how bad it can be when hooves and antlers, come through the windshield. So we were just so grateful. And it happened in a small town, actually the small town next to the town that my husband and I grew up in. And the police officers in town, they were just amazing, and they stayed with him, and they called the tow truck right away, made sure he was safe. It all worked out okay. So even though his beautiful new car is messed up, it can be fixed. And, we're just so thankful for that. So we had that on the 23rd. Then we went on to have what was truly one of the best Christmases we've ever had. The past few years have just been a lot. And I've talked about that on here. I'm not going to rehash, all these things. But it was just really fun. All the kids, the cousins, are just 4 years apart in age from the oldest to the youngest. So they're all in that same age group right now, late teens, early 20s. So they all get along great. And my husband went and ordered some fun party games, and we just had a blast. And I had so much fun cooking and making a really nice meal. And we felt like it was a big win because the kids weren't just, sitting around on their phones. They were laughing, having a good time. So it was much needed, and we were so grateful to have that. And then my birthday is just a few days after Christmas. So I had a really great birthday. We celebrated as a family, went out to Mexican food one night, and then the next night, Mike took me out on a date night to our favorite steakhouse, and it was just really, really fun and great. Then on New Year's Eve, I started feeling a little off, and I thought I was getting a cold. Well, long story short, it took 4 years, but COVID finally got me, and I have no idea where I got it. Absolutely no idea. No one I know had it. I must have gotten it at the grocery store or running errands or at the mall or something like that. Thankfully, it's been mild, just upper respiratory. I did feel really horrible one day, and it just sucks feeling sick and losing productivity, and starting the year off that way was not great. And I definitely would prefer if I could just not get sick for a very long time. But it's all good. I'm feeling better. Hopefully I can make it through this episode without, too much coughing or whatever. At this point, I just still have a little bit of nasal congestion. So I didn't really start the new year off on the best foot, so to speak. And while I'd love to say, oh, I took that downtime to make like this amazing plan, and set goals, I didn't. I watched Netflix. I slept a lot. I played Tetris on my phone. I scrolled through Instagram, and I just gave myself a break. So to anyone who's out there being like, oh, the way you spend your first week of 2024 will determine the rest of your year, I say zip it. It's all good. I've had years where my January started off amazing, and then everything went straight to hell later in the year. So I don't listen to any of that nonsense. It is what it is. Um, so if you're kind of like feeling a little behind the ball, maybe your new year hasn't started off so great, easy as well, then I think this episode is for you. Because we're going to talk about how building a healthy lifestyle does not have to be hard. I'm just going to kind of go over some five, little tips on how to make things easier for yourself. Because the truth is, the easier you can make it, the better. The more likely you're going to be able to stick with things. And, I'm sitting here scrolling. Like I said, I did a lot of scrolling on Instagram and seeing, I actually ended up unfollowing a lot of people. I really just wasn't interested in the people that were kind of going all gung ho on, you need to change everything about your life or doing like crazy challenges. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in waking up every day and just feeling good about myself, feeling good about my habits. And when you do crazy, extreme things, often you kind of end up feeling the complete opposite. And that's why I decided on this topic of talking about why it really doesn't have to be that hard to build healthy habits. And there's so many supposed solutions out there that are just overly complicated and it's ridiculous. And I've talked about this topic in other episodes, but today I just specifically want to talk about this idea of building new habits. And I hope that if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, then you understand I'm just all about making things easy. There's so much of life that is hard. And yes, making change, building new habits, even doing it the easy way, it's still going to be challenging because you're making change. It's always difficult when you're doing something new that you weren't doing before. But adding unnecessary, complicated layers to your fitness and nutrition plan, it just takes things to a place where it's unsustainable. And we're here on this podcast, where my main theme here for you is things have to be sustainable. And what happens when it isn't sustainable is you go balls to the wall, you give it your all. Say you like clear all the food out of your pantry and the fridge, and all of a sudden you're trying to wake up at 5 a.m. and do workout. It's like this whole new version of yourself. And then what happens? It's unsustainable. You end up feeling like a failure. It destroys your confidence. You end up back where you were. And even maybe you made some small wins, but at the end of the day, you just end up chasing your tail. And I know that can be a bit of an oversimplification, and everyone has their own experience with starting new habits. But overall, I think the biggest problem out there in the health and wellness space is bad information and bad guidance that leaves you feeling there's something wrong with you just because their plan didn't work for you. And that is so far from the truth. And when you start making a plan that's yours and you own it and it's built because of the way your life is and the way you want your life to be, then it's going to work for you. So let's just pretend that there's a big neon sign flashing here on this episode where I'm trying to say, healthy habits do not have to be hard. That's a neon sign. Healthy habits do not have to be hard. In fact, if it is too hard, that's a big red flag that you are heading down a rabbit hole that's leading you nowhere. Instead, let's talk about the best ways you can make new habits easy and truly make 2024 your year for sustainable change. That's a key word here, is sustainable. I have a whole episode about it. My thoughts on things like 75 hard or complicated diets. I have a whole episode on that. So I'm not going to go into the specifics, but more general ways of making things easier for yourself so you can avoid those things that, yeah, they challenge you. I'm not saying they're all bad, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to start a new habit right now that isn't something that you could continue for the next 10 years of your life, then why are you doing it? Honestly, it's kind of a waste of time. Instead, your time and energy is better spent figuring out habits that you can stick with, that are going to be fun, that are going to be enjoyable, that truly makes your day-to-day life better. So, number one, the easiest way to make change is to make sure the change you're seeking is coming from within you. If you're trying to lose weight because of external pressure, or you want to look a certain way for someone else or for a certain event, I mean, those can be little motivating factors, but deep underneath it, it needs to be coming from inside you. If it isn't, it's going to be a much harder hill to climb, and it's going to be temporary. When my clients come to me, it is 100% of the time because they're tired of being in their own way and they're just ready for change. They've already made the decision that they're going to improve their habits, that they don't want to waste their time trying all kinds of nonsense. And normally they have tried a lot of different things on their own. And after listening to this podcast or following me on social media or subscribing to my newsletter, they just understand this message that I'm saying, and it really speaks to them. If you truly want to feel better, then you're probably going to need some expert guidance so that you can have the confidence that the things you're doing are actually going to move you in the direction you want to go. Bottom line, my clients do not ask me to motivate them. They don't even really ask me to hold them accountable. To be honest, when someone fills out my application, they say, "Oh, I want a coach because I need the motivation and I need someone to hold me accountable." Then I know they actually have not done the internal work to be successful, because you've got to take ownership of your part in the process. And motivation and accountability are no one else's responsibility but yours. Now, as your coach, am I going to check in on you if you aren't doing your check-ins, if you're not showing up? Of course. But honestly, I haven't had to do that with any of the women that have signed up with me, because the women I work with are past that point. They know they've got to hold themselves accountable. They know they've got to rely on consistency and commitment and forget about motivation, because motivation is not how you get results. But it's all about making that internal decision that you are going to do this. And that's what makes keeping promises to yourself easier, because that's all a new habit is. A new habit is saying, I'm going to do this. And then you just keep that promise to yourself that this is the person you're going to become. So my second thing here on how to make new habits easier is, if you want it to be easy, you've got to be honest with yourself. If you're BSing yourself about what you're actually doing right now and how much effort you're actually willing to put into the change you say you want, if you're BSing yourself about that, you're not going to get where you want to go. You're going to have to take inventory of what you're currently doing. You're going to have to see the areas that you want to make change. And then you've got to develop a plan to close that gap between where you are now and where you want to go. And that's what my coaching is all about, helping you close that gap. And sometimes you really need my help just to get that clarity of, where is it that you want to go? What's the direction you at least want to start towards? And understanding that you might change your mind along the way, and that's okay, because you're in control of your journey, your destination. But if you're not willing to step on the scale, if you're not willing to be honest about what you're actually eating or how much you're moving your body or working out or not working out, then you're just not going to be able to move forward. If you're not willing to be honest about how much wine you're drinking, that is a big one, and you're really going to have a hard time moving forward. No matter how, quote, bad or dire you think the situation is right now, I assure you, if you don't get honest with yourself about what you really want and what you're currently doing, and if you don't believe in yourself enough to take that first step, then it's going to be easier. So why not be honest with yourself and just make it easier on yourself? Okay, number 3, this one seems kind of redundant or maybe a no-brainer, but make new habits easy by choosing easy habits. I say all the time on here, you need to learn how to nourish your body. And when you work with me, I build a nutrition plan with you that starts you off by simply learning how to eat healthier and give your body what it needs without that added pressure of cutting out foods or, trying to lose 5 pounds in a week. It's all about learning to eat, learning to track, listening to your body, seeing how you feel once you actually start feeding it the foods that help your body thrive and function better. And it makes things so much easier. Usually, when you start a diet and you immediately try to lose weight and you're obsessing over the scale, there's just like so many moving parts, so many moving parts. And there's also this added pressure of like, oh, I'm putting in all this hard work, so that scale better go down. And I'm telling you, it's just so much easier if you start in maintenance, use that time to learn how to track, how to plan your meals, how to make food choices in different situations, like going out to eat. And if you jump feet first into a restrictive diet, you are just absolutely setting yourself up for extra stress and making things harder on yourself. When it comes to your fitness, if you think, oh, the solution is I'm going to wake up every day at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go to this boot camp or whatever, why put your pressure on yourself to make it so much harder? Instead, make things easier on yourself. Just maybe start off with 2 days a week or do workouts at home and ease into the habit instead of thinking it has to be this all or nothing mentality. Look for ways that you can make easy habits part of your day-to-day life, even just drinking more water. It's really easy to just buy a nice water bottle and carry it with you, and you're naturally going to drink more water. So choose easier habits. If you are given a spectrum of choices when it comes to your workouts and your nutrition, start with the ones that are just going to be easiest. You could even just start with something as simple as making sure you have a vegetable at lunch and dinner. And those tiny habits are going to help you build over time to become the person that you want to be. Number 4, I wish I could shout this one from the rooftops, but make your new fitness habits easier by focusing on getting stronger instead of losing weight. Let me tell you, assuming you don't have any pre-existing health conditions requiring fat loss, just give yourself 6 months to a year of a proper strength training program, nourishing your body, eating in maintenance, building muscle the right way. The best part about working on this goal is you are guaranteed to get results. Now, it does take knowledge and education to understand what types of workouts are actually going to help you build muscle. I say this over and over, but just because you're picking up a dumbbell does not mean you're doing a strength training workout. I was using dumbbells for years and I didn't really start getting stronger until the past 18 months or so because I was not doing it the right way. But once you understand how to choose nutrition that support your strength training goals, how to choose workouts that support your strength training goals, and understanding you can work out and strength train 3 to 4 days a week and get amazing results, it is so empowering. I bet if you did this, you'd feel a lot better about yourself than if you just went straight into the weight loss. It's so tempting to just constantly want weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. But the confidence, the empowerment you feel when you start getting stronger in the gym, I am telling you, there's nothing like it. And then when you do go into a fat loss phase, you have all this beautiful muscle underneath the fat that makes you get that toned look that you want. And you can be doing a little bit of that along the way in maintenance as well. It's slower than doing a building fat loss phase. But if you're working on building muscle, you're going to build muscle and get stronger. It's guaranteed. Weight loss is not guaranteed. Weight loss is done so wrong in so many ways with so many nutrition and diet plans that you are so much better off building that muscle first and then doing a proper fat loss phase after instead of just focusing on weight loss. The biggest feedback I get from my clients is how much they learn about themselves during this process, their relationship with food, They build a better relationship with the food, the scale, their body. And this whole process of self-discovery that you don't gain when you focus on weight loss. It changes everything. And again, it makes everything easier because you have this new thing to focus on other than weight loss, and you're guaranteed to be moving towards that goal, unlike weight loss, which can just be wild. All right, number 5, want to make things easier on yourself? Lose the attitude. Yes, I am a parent of teenagers. I am used to attitudes, and I'm going to say that attitude where you make jokes about your body, you talk about how hard it is to lose weight, you just think it's so much easier for everyone else, blah, 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 blah. And you make all these excuses and have all these thoughts that just, what do? They're just preventing you from actually getting your ish together and making change. Your thoughts matter. Lose the freaking attitude. If you think it's going to be hard to build a new habit, then guess what? It's going to be hard. If you think the only way to feel better about yourself is to lose 20 pounds, guess what? You're not going to feel any better about yourself 20 pounds later. You got to lose the attitude. If you're going and losing weight in an unsustainable way, you're not going to have the confidence that you can keep that weight off. For years, I thought that I had to keep eating tiny amounts of food even after I lost the weight because I didn't understand how to eat in maintenance. You have to understand how nutrition works in your body. You have to understand how to nourish your body. And you have to lose this idea that it's hard to live a healthy lifestyle, that it's going to be hard to get the body you want. You have to have patience. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you're going to get the body of your dreams in 3 weeks or even in 6 months. It might take you years to ultimately build the muscle and lose the fat and get yourself to this like ideal body that you want. I don't know, what my end goal will ever be. I feel so amazing and comfortable in my skin right now. And I know I'm going to have this feeling along the way. And that's what matters. It's really all about how you feel. So I get it. Most weight loss advice sucks and it doesn't lead you anywhere. And that's why we make these jokes, because we don't have the confidence that if we put all this effort in and we go on this diet and we starve ourselves and we restrict ourselves, we don't have the confidence that we're actually going to be able to maintain our results because we haven't been able to for decades. So yeah, you make jokes about it. You have this like idea in your head of what it's going to be like. And I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be this way. We're taught that healthy foods taste bad, that getting fit is hard, and that you can only be healthy if you follow these extreme rules. And there's fear mongering around foods about what is healthy and unhealthy. And if you have an ice cream, then you've ruined everything, or you can't have pizza, or you can't have French fries. I'm telling you, it's all BS, okay? It's all BS. You have the power to change the narrative and your own story. Everything gets so much easier when you realize healthy food is delicious. There is room in a healthy diet for your favorite foods. I literally just had ice cream after my lunch. And it's all good because once you understand how nutrition actually works in your body, you don't have to fear those foods. Also understand that workouts are fun. Listen, I hate cardio, okay? Some people love cardio. You can find a balance. I love lifting weights and I still know I need to do some cardio. So I have built a fitness plan that works for me, that I get up every day. And even if it's a day that I know I need to get a bit more cardio in or I need to get more steps in, I am okay with that because of where these habits are leading me. And I enjoy them on a daily basis. Getting stronger is the biggest confidence builder out there. And it's not as complicated. And you're not, people have all these misconceptions about what getting stronger is going to take and, about what they're going to look like at the end. It takes so much effort to get super, super big muscles. It often takes a lot of supplements, maybe some things that, the average person or anyone really shouldn't be taking as far as supplements or drugs. And the average person, if you're just like me, you're a mom who probably doesn't really want to work out more than 45 minutes to an hour a day. Most days I work out somewhere between 35 and 50 minutes per day. I'm not going to end up looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, no matter how much I lift weights. But I have gotten so much stronger. I share this on my Instagram stories, but I went from someone with debilitating chronic back pain. I literally emptying the dishwasher, bending over to tie my shoes, putting my pants on. All of these things were so painful for me for so long until I started working on my strength. And right before I got sick, I deadlifted. I'm working 70 pounds, doing 8 to 10 reps of 70-pound deadlifts. I could probably do one deadlift with quite a bit more weight on it. I'm still, I get nervous because I've been down that road where I've, had a lot of back pain, but getting stronger has just been the best feeling in the world. And it's something that you can control, and there's no downside to it. So, if you want to make things easier on yourself, start understanding that a healthy lifestyle is enjoyable. Don't listen to those people who are screaming at you with their shirts off in the grocery store, making TikToks telling you that everything in the grocery store is going to kill you, and instead you should be only vegan, or you should be only carnivore. Like, can we just stop with that in 2024? In 2024, can we realize that a healthy, nourishing, balanced diet is going to include plants? It can include animal protein, it can include plant protein, and it can include some things like Oreos. And let's be realistic and stop listening to the fear mongering and understand that that type of all in or all out thinking gets us nowhere. It can be so easy to believe the people that are screaming at us all this nonsense because they say it with such conviction. But at the end of the day, the science does not back up their claims. And I spent too much of my time in the diet industry believing silly things, buying weird ingredients because, like buying beef gelatin instead of cornstarch to thicken things. I mean, honestly, I look back and I think of all these stupid things that I worried about. And there is so much freedom when you build a healthy lifestyle that is enjoyable. When you work with me, that's exactly what we do. We start you off on a plan. It's a collaboration based on your needs and your goals and lifestyle. And then we experiment for a bit until we find the habits that truly become second nature, like brushing your teeth, because that's what it should feel like. It should be much more like brushing your teeth than, grinding out some horrible day-to-day life where you just hate every aspect of everything you're doing. And you become the person who looks forward to eating those healthy foods that you enjoy. You look forward to your workouts. This should I, shouldn't I chatter that goes on in your head right now. Like, do you have that right now where your face, say you walk into a restaurant and you look at the menu and you have this back and forth in your head. Oh, should I have this? Should I have that? What should I eat? What am I going to feel shameful for? What am I going to feel guilty about? That type of chatter starts to disappear because you understand how to make decisions that you can feel good about, and you build habits that are easy for you. So doing things like intermittent fasting, complicated protocol diets, detoxes, cutting out food groups is just wholly unnecessary. In fact, most of my clients have tried some or all of those things. And the biggest feedback I get, usually within the first couple of weeks of them working with me, is how good they feel, better energy, better sleep, better confidence. And it all just comes to making that shift into believing that you can build habits that are easy and that you can enjoy. If you keep doing things that are needlessly hard, then you're going to keep finding yourself searching for that next thing, that next diet, that next workout, and you're going to continue to feel unsatisfied and you're not going to feel very good about yourself. So flip that switch. Let's start 2024 with you understanding that new healthy habits don't have to be hard. You can absolutely try to figure these things out on your own. A lot of people do that. Or you can reach out to me. We can do a one-time session, or you can sign up to be a one-to-one client. My enrollment is open through January 19th. I'll be taking on new clients through then. And I'm just so excited. I'm excited to be feeling better. I'm still not 100%. But the other thing that was really cool, so I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I shared this in my email newsletter. If you're not signed up for my email newsletter, make sure to go to the episode details and sign up for it. But one thing I shared is, as I was starting to think about, what do I want for 2024 and what are my goals and what are my habits and all that stuff, I just realized that I really didn't have a whole lot I wanted to change. I've really found a way of living day to day, week to week, month to month, that feels good for me. And there's no reason for me to, get out a planner and just, start from scratch and like, what are these big things I want to do? I'm tired of big, audacious goals. I'm here for just simple day-to-day life that I feel good about, that makes me proud. And health and wellness and food and fitness and all that doesn't have to consume you. And yes, in the beginning, when you're learning, when you're, a beginner, yeah, you're going to have to think more about things. You're going to have to put more effort in. But as you grow and as you understand what works for you, the cool part is you have to think less and less about things, and then it just becomes a part of who you are. And that's what I want for you, because there's just so many women and men out there all the time just feeling this heavy load of not being good enough, not taking care of themselves enough, and thinking that it's just got to be so, so hard. Maybe it is easier for some people and harder for other people, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It may not be your fault where you are today, but it is your responsibility to take charge of your life and decide what you want your life to look like and start taking steps towards that. So that's it for my first podcast episode of 2024. Hopefully I'll be a little less congested on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, I hope that you found the information on here helpful. Please share my podcast, let other people know that information like this is out there. And let's move away from all the craziness, all the nonsense, all the misinformation, and just start working towards habits that are easy for you. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check the episode details for my new listener starter guide, and any additional resources mentioned in the episode can also be found in the show notes on my website. You can always find me on Instagram at Macros with Lil, and for more healthy lifestyle tips, recipes, and information on my one-to-one and group coaching services, make sure to check out my website. All the links can be found below. If you know someone else who is ready to start building their formula for feeling their best, please share the love and send them a link to the podcast. I hope you found today's episode helpful, and I'll see you back here next week for a brand new one.